Hello and welcome to Culture Cubby, the podcast that is not afraid to say some movies are best left in the past. I am your host, Julian Sosa, along with...
Jared Slattery.
And today we are discussing the movie Elves. Uh, I was gonna start this off by apologizing for choosing this film. But apparently you've seen this several times.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know why or where or when, but I've seen this movie 4 to 5 times.
This was a brutal one for me. I'll say that it started off like promising. I was like, oh, this is already kind of a fun, bad horror film. But gosh, they took it to some levels.
Unnecessarily.
Yeah, I don't want to jump to I guess the big like twist at the end, but because if I did, I would end there. And
Yeah.
we've spent a lot of time setting this up today.
We would get demonetized.
Yeah.
We gotta be careful about how we broach that.
Right. I'm still trying to like, okay, when we get to it, how are we gonna word things?
Oh, I'm just gonna say it.
Well,
Sound like we're very monetized at all.
This is true. Okay. Yeah. So
This is Culture Cubby Raw.
So starting off with, oh, you know what? I did want to go. I want to give like the Wikipedia like the breakdown of this film because it's really what drew me into doing this. Because it's nuts like the plot. So I want to read it directly off of there. When teenager is it Kirsten? Kirsten. When teenager Kirsten accidentally cuts her hand during an anti-Christmas pagan ritual with her friends Brooke and Amy in the woods, her spilled blood awakens an ancient demonic Christmas elf. The elf is a central figure in a modern-day neo-Nazi plot to finally bring about the master race, which Hitler had always dreamed of conquering the world. Rather than a race of pure-blood Aryans, it is revealed that Hitler instead dreamed of a race of half-human, half-elf hybrids.
Dang, that leaves out so much of like that's not even the plot. It doesn't really go over anything but like the most broad premise.
Right, so starting off, the thing that this movie immediately gets wrong is the film is called Elves. There's one elf.
There's just one dude. Yeah.
And the elf had like, to me, like varying sizes throughout the entire film.
Mm-hmm.
At one point I thought it was like a tall man. Eventually it does get revealed that it's like 2 foot tall.
Yeah.
But you really can't, like, sometimes it has little itty bitty legs, and then the other times it's like towering over mannequins.
Yeah, I don't think they cared about the thing they said in this movie at any point in time. Anything they said.
Oh yeah, this is a movie that the best way I can describe it is like they did a bunch of cocaine and they're like, pitches. What do we got? Because there was so much thrown into this that did not need to be there. Like, they could have told a much simpler story. It still wouldn't have been good, but at least it would have been like there was something more cohesive to be told.
Oh yeah. I mean, the starting scene is bonkers, and I didn't, and I know you didn't. We didn't watch this on YouTube for free, but if you did, it was fucking. There's no good rip of it. It's all terrible. So you should just pay for it, like we did.
No, except you can't. There is no way to watch this. I looked, and it's never. I don't think it was released on DVD. It's not on any streaming, and the VHS is going between $100 to $200 of this film.
Which we definitely spent.
Yeah. Here's my VHS copy right here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
not cardboard.
That's right. But the opening scene is so dark and it's so messed up. There's like the idea of an anti-Christmas ceremony is hilarious, and to bring that book and to bring like, why are you bringing this? You're not doing anything from that book. You're chanting and talking about how much you hate commercialized Christmas. And by the way, they don't. They love commercialized Christmas.
Yeah, the whole reasoning in the beginning there made no sense to me, like, because it never they never go back to it. These aren't like girls trying to be witches.
Mm-mm.
These aren't girls like trying to summon anything. They decide to go to the woods one day, and how, how many episodes have we done of this podcast so far? And like, I think this is the fourth film now where it's like, oh, something had to happen in order to summon this thing.
Yeah.
And it just so happened to happen. She just so happened to cut her hand in the right area where this elf is apparently at, and it awakens the elf.
Yeah. Well, you can tell that they don't write these characters to feel like they have agency. They're just going where the plot goes. And I don't have a good description for what, like, exactly how it feels. But it's just, there's no point where I'm like, that's a normal thing someone would do in this movie whenever there's a plot point involved.
Yeah.
It's always like, well, I guess we got to deal with it the way that the movie needs us to deal with it instead of how I, the character, would do it. Every bit of it is weird. And then everything else that's not plot driven is fucking bonkers. So they do their stupid ritual. She cuts her hand, spills the blood, which is, I was like, this is like Ernest Scared Stupid all over again. Like, almost exactly, except not supposed to be funny. Like, this is not one of those horror movies that's supposed to be a comedy. It's supposed to be a horror movie straight up. But it's doesn't succeed at that, and it barely succeeds at being funny by being bad. I had a good time watching it because I'm broken inside, not because it's good at all or bad enough to be fun.
Right, because I did have that thought again in the beginning. I was like, okay, there's some funny, awful stuff happening in this movie. But like when you put it up against a movie like Troll 2, like you just see the difference. Like as bad as that movie is, like there's a charm to it there that like movies like this, like it's kind of hard to describe. Also, this one has again, we haven't gotten to it yet, but a lot of problematic stuff in it.
Yeah.
That I'm like, okay, I see why I've never heard of this and why it doesn't exist past VHS.
Yeah. The second protagonist is Grizzly Adams, and that's very funny to me. Because I watched this one with my mom last night to double check. I was like, I know I've seen this. Let me watch it again. And she's like, "That's Grizzly Adams."
Like, so it's literally Grizzly.
It's literally him.
Oh, okay.
I didn't check that.
I thought you were just calling him Grizzly.
I'm pretty sure it is, though. And don't fact check us unless I'm right.
Yeah, I kept changing in my notes like what I referred to him as, because like initially I thought he was just like a fired security guard, and then he gets hired as the mall Santa, and then it's brought up that he's a detective. He was a former detective.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. So my notes have him as detective, mall Santa / security guard, fired mall Santa.
Disgraced mall Santa. Well, let's talk about... Okay, so those three girls work in this department store called Golems, which is a weird name in a movie like this. We'll talk about why that's weird later, but it's a weird name for a movie about the things that this movie's about, specifically. Yeah. But the three girls work in this department store. One of them gets felled up by the current Santa Claus, who should not be Santa. Like, Grizzly Adams walked in and said, "Hey, man, do you have a job?" All amicably. And then eventually he was a dick to the guy. And I was like, that was unnecessary. Like, you are clearly supposed to be the good guy, and that guy's supposed to be the bad guy in this. But you're kind of a dick for how you turned that.
You know, it's funny. I instantly, when I knew there was a mall Santa and this guy asked for a job, I knew somehow those were going to cross over. Just by looking at him with the beard and stuff. The other mall Santa, I wrote him down as sexual harassment Santa. because he sexually harasses the girl. And then the crazy thing is, he does not get fired because he says something like awful to her.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. He not only is it unwanted touch, it is verbal sexual harassment.
Yeah, he felt her up and verbally sexually harassed her, and then was told to take a break.
Yep.
So then he goes to the break room and does coke.
And the elf's awake because of the blood cut.
Yeah, now we have the elf, and the elf kills him.
Santa likes snow.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really nobody in this movie that I'm like, oh, I hope they don't die.
I like Grizzly Adams.
I was gonna say he's the one that maybe, you know. But yeah, everybody else in this movie is just awful.
All of them.
Yeah.
They're all terrible. Even Kirsten. Kirsten's more likable than the rest, but Kirsten's pretty terrible. But that mall Santa. If I was the guy who owned that department store, I'd be like, no, you're the new Santa. Look at you. Look at you. You're Santa Claus. Like, and let's talk about why he was in the mall for the main part of this movie.
Yeah.
He got locked out of his trailer. His shitty trailer that you can just, if you pull hard enough, you're just going to get in. You can't lock a trailer enough for me to not get in. I'll get in there. And that guy's a big guy, I'm a big guy. It takes nothing. You don't have to be a big guy.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, I didn't realize he got evicted.
Oh, he got evicted. Okay. Yeah, because he ended up like living in the mall after being hired.
Which, the thing is, he used a crowbar to get back into the mall at some point. And I'm just like, that's the same crime. Just break into your house.
Yeah.
Not a problem. And then we'll get there. that whole
I know, I keep
the entering and exiting.
But, yeah.
So he didn't have any clothes, and so he went to stay at the department store, which had like an apartment in it. Like the break room there was an apartment. Terrible apartment, but still an apartment. Like there's a cot, there's a sink, like there's enough stuff there. There's a toilet somewhere, I'm pretty sure. And then while he's staying there, illegally, the girls come in to camp out in the department store, so they could hang out with boys but not sleep with them. At least one of them specifically was like, "I'm not going to sleep with them."
Yes, yeah. Oh man, there's so much random stuff with that too. Like this whole film just had, like, there's nothing coherent about it. Like I didn't know that that's what they were there for. Maybe I missed something, but like they were like they snuck into the mall after hours that they work in, and they're just like trying on lingerie and like makeup and stuff, and yeah, then it's in. I really didn't know any of that was happening until the boys showed up. Again, I think the best part of my notes is just what I call people in this one, and I just call them horny dudes. Some horny dudes show up, and they can't get into the mall, and they're instantly killed.
Yeah, like they were killed so fast that I don't even think I saw it happen. You know, I was just like, "No, they're dead."
Yeah, I saw one die. I have no idea what happened to it. I guess it was implied that they died, but
they couldn't afford them.
Yeah, they're like, we got enough makeup budget for one of the horny dudes.
I think we got to backtrack a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah.
There's two moments that are real whack. So, but while she's getting ready, first off, she has a cat named Agamemnon, which is a wild thing to name a cat. Like I think that was the writer being like, I know stuff. I know who Agamemnon is. Agamemnon. Damn. Well, I'm not smart. So the cat. The mom doesn't like the cat. Because she says that the cat. Oh, here's what it is. The little brother got woken up by the elf, and the cat chased the elf off. And he was cut by the elf, and the mom blamed it on the cat, and the mom's fucking batshit. She's insane. And so she blamed it on the cat, and so she was gonna try and get the cat and kill the cat, which is fucking wild. But then, the next day, I think, the the main girl, Kirsten, she's getting ready to go out to the mall, and the little brother fucking spies on her, and she's grossed out by it at first, but then later she's like roughhousing in a way that is kind of inappropriate.
Yeah, so the little brother's a little pervy. I actually have the exact what he says
Yeah,
here.
it's so stupid.
Yeah, I don't know if this probably isn't word for word, but I refuse to go back and like relive any of this. Um, so yeah, the he's spying on her taking a shower or getting dressed
Mm-hmm.
after taking a shower. And she catches him and she's like, "I'm your sister." And then he goes, "Yeah, and you have big tits." And I'm going to tell everybody I saw them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then continues in that manner. And then, yeah, eventually it leads to like playful fighting. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, that's how little brothers are. And I gotta say, this is one of those. There's like weird things in older movies like this, especially bad movies, where you're like, I've seen this before.
Mm-hmm.
And that seemed to be a thing of just the pervy old little brother
Mm-hmm.
wanting to see their sister naked.
I think there's something wrong with people who make horror movies, especially this type.
Yeah.
I think there's something horribly wrong. They hate women, and they find casual misogyny a great piece of flavor.
Oh, and this movie is
There's a lot.
loaded with it. Yeah.
There's a lot. Like, uh, so we'll go back to where we were because
Yeah, I know you mentioned the little brother getting attacked by
the elf. Yeah.
the elf. Two things with that. This movie started to do the Troll 2 thing of we're told through the movie's title that these are elves.
Mm-hmm.
But the entire movie, because nobody knows, like nobody would ever go, "Oh, that's an elf." They call it a goblin. They call it a troll. They call it all sorts of things. Now they do eventually get called elves in this,
Mm-hmm.
and the grandfather, the Nazi grandfather, yeah, because Nazis are a big part of this for some
Mm-hmm.
reason. Uh, he calls them elves early on, but no, everybody kind of ignores him, which is crazy. Like you have a movie called Elves. You have a main character that knows what they are,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't allow the other characters to accept that that's what it is, elves.
Mm-hmm.
That you just continue to call them trolls throughout the entire film. So the brother, when he's attacked, he goes, "It was a fucking little ninja troll."
Yeah, and I think that's the best description.
Yeah.
That's what they're supposed to be, really, according to the Nazis' description.
Yeah. The Nazis in this.
Everything in this,
Yeah.
all of it.
The Nazis eventually show. Okay, so yeah, there's these like thugs, and I didn't know that they were Nazis. I assumed they were Nazis through reading the plot of what this film is, but it took a really long time before we actually learned that.
I did it through jingoism, and I'm like, Germans.
Yeah. But they show up to the house and they kind of are like badgering the grandfather, looking for his granddaughter, because she's supposed to bring on like this new Aryan world order,
Mm-hmm.
which is apparently Hitler's plot to have superhuman elf hybrids.
Yeah, to create the Antichrist. Somehow.
Yeah. Say what you want about the Nazis. That is like in a lot in like movies, and even like when you just look into like the history of them. Like obviously the big thing is the awful atrocities and just everything vile that comes with the Nazis. But they were also just into like weird shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like in real life and in movies. Like movies love giving Nazis like they needed something extra.
Yeah.
These Nazis are kind of boring. What if they, were really into elves or zombies?
Or Satan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they're the pinnacle of evil. So they probably like this. But really, the movie maker probably likes it more than them.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I get the feeling that a lot of the filmmakers are actually kind of pro-Nazi. Not directly, but just a little bit. Just like a little touch everywhere. I mean, not in this one specifically. This one, they're beaten pretty down, just as a general trope.
Yeah.
I just don't think people who want to make a bunch of movies about Nazis that aren't historical have something a little bit wrong with them.
Yeah, I guess I get that they're kind of like the ultimate evil.
Mm.
But that's like kind of my point is like, yeah, they're the ultimate evil.
Yeah.
Do you need something additional to this, you know?
They're not just killing them, they might kill us.
Yeah. Yeah, so they kind of, the Nazi thugs kind of leave without incident, without going like, oh, we'll just wait, just got to be home eventually, right?
There's so many weird parts. And we've said that too many times now, but there's so many weird parts. But in the mall, so everything goes sideways in the mall. They get shot up. They shoot up. They try to shoot the troll after they're getting shot up by the Nazis. They kept on putting tape and taking tape off the door and putting it back up. And I got real confused about that because I'm like, why are we doing this?
That's them keeping the door open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it just happened, so like it was unnecessary.
Yeah.
Like the putting it up in the first place. Just unlock the door.
Yeah, a movie missing a lot of details, like hyper focus on a weird thing.
It was an important point for no reason.
So this is another one of those like weird movie things that I've noticed that like a lot of like low budget films, horror films, are shot in malls. Mm-hmm. And like, was it just like super cheap to film in a mall back then? Because
so many.
I mean, this movie couldn't have had much of a budget.
But that wasn't a mall. It was a department store. It was a really big department store.
It was, I mean...
They had mall. It was mall-like. Yeah. It's like how Sears used to be. It's how Sears still is in Mexico.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. Still, though, I mean, the fact that they can get into anything without it just being a set that they had to build.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it probably was cheap. They can just rent it out. Maybe it's not during the busy season. Or just at night.
Yeah. Maybe just knew someone. I know this guy. He works at a mall. He'll let us in real late at night. We just got to shoot everything.
But he wants to be in it, and he used to be Grizzly Adams.
Yeah. That's our hero of the movie. I found it really funny how low he talked. Mm-hmm. Everything was like this.
Yeah, he's gentle.
Yeah. It was, it's kind of hard to describe because it's not like, I don't want to say he was talking too low. I can understand him. He was just very soft.
Yeah.
Hey, don't talk to me like that.
Yeah.
Like that was his entire, I don't deal with Nazis.
Yeah. I mean, before the shooting starts, he sees the girls who are in the department store with him, and he gets out and he says, "Don't steal anything," and just try to dissuade them. I'm like, all you had to do was do nothing and just hang out upstairs where you wanted to be anyway.
Yeah, because he's in there himself, sleeping there because he doesn't have anywhere else to go, and he's had the job for like a day as Mall Santa, and he hears them and confronts them like he's a security guard. And they're like, "You're Mall Santa, or F all." That whole mall sequence, like the Nazi thugs show up. And it was really hard for me to understand what they wanted the entire time. And
they were just murking people for no reason. They had no attachment to anything.
Well, and the elf, too. I don't think we talked about what the elf actually wants. So what the elf wants is to mate with our main character. Mm-hmm. And I don't understand why that led to it, like, just killing people randomly. Yeah.
We don't even find out if the Nazis were really down for all that shit towards the end.
Right. It was so confusing because I feel like the grandfather contradicted what they were... Because it seemed like they wanted the elf to sleep with her. And the grandfather at some point is like, "Oh no, they actually like want to protect you," and but I don't like it. It was so confusing. Yeah. What the hell was going on with that?
They got fired from their jobs, I guess, rightfully. But the guy, the owner was going to hit the girl, and I was like, Grizzly Adams just needs to punch this guy real hard. Like, he's clearly in the right every time we talk to him. He just is snotty about it. Grizzly Adams is really polite, but wrong.
Right, yeah, so after the elf kills the two friends, and that's really all there is to say about it, because they really didn't do anything in the film. Elf kills the two friends, the Nazis killed the boyfriends, or whatever they were, the horny dudes. And then, yeah, during that confrontation of like, why were you in the mall in the first place? Well, like, fires both of them. And a weird thing happens where Grizzly Adams, like, holds her hand.
Yeah.
I was like, why are they holding hands? Like,
they're not love interests at all in the movie.
There's parts of this where I was like, I feel like they initially maybe wanted somebody younger to be a love interest, which, I mean, would have made sense.
But they found the biggest guy they could find.
He had some weird stuff about him too, like he called a few people Doc, and I'm like, are these doctors? Is he just calling them docs? There's one that he was a professor, so I guess technically he may have been a doctor, but he was like in a library.
The first time we went to the library, this is my favorite note about the whole movie. He's like, do you have anything about occult symbols? And she says, yeah, it's in the occult section. 666.
Yeah.
That's not how the Dewey Decimal System works.
Yeah. What's the funniest order we could put this in?
The filmmakers were they needed to see that episode of Arthur so they could get their library card and know about the Dewey Decimal System, but that would come out several years later.
Here's books about the Kama Sutra in aisle 69, section 60.
We have thematic numbers based on memes.
Yeah.
That's how we do it. We do it the meme decimal system.
Yeah. Can we need to go back to the mom.
Yeah. There's so much about her.
Yeah, the mom's... So initially, and I still think for the most part, but like this is another thing that I'm just noticing from these movies. There's just always a crazy mom.
Oh, but there's a heavily misogynistic reason that she's crazy.
Yes, in this one actually is explained, but initially I was like, oh, here's the crazy mom.
Yeah, the real villain of the film.
Right, because
she the first thing she does is take the money out of her daughter's bank account because she was out late. Like, and first off, the daughter should be like, cool, I'm going to get up earlier than you. I'm just going to go to the bank. Which I would have done. I was like, no, I'm going to the bank. Fuck.
Yeah.
Or you just slap the shit out of her. In these types of movies, I'm surprised they didn't. And I'm not advocating people slap their moms, but if they take money from your account, there's something wrong there. There's some abusive shit going on.
She did get slapped, though, by the grandfather.
She did. But that's a weak-ass, slow slap.
Yeah, my notes were just old man, because early on, old man slaps woman. I didn't know who they were.
Yeah. They didn't explain it much. But she kills Agamemnon, the cat, in the most horrific way.
Yeah, so like some older movies did, and I mean this is 89, but there's like some older movies where they like did real bad things to animals, like for real.
They did not do that in this one.
Yeah, I don't think they did, but part of me thought maybe. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, the cat would have fought back because she drowned the cat in the fucking toilet.
Yeah, she put it in like a pillowcase.
This is the worst way,
yeah.
And I'm not saying there's a good way to kill a cat. I am saying that is the hardest way because you're gonna get the shit scratched out of you.
Yeah. Yeah, just crazy. The mom was just crazy. A lot of her dialogue, like it didn't really sync up. Like after the first mall Santa dies, the daughter comes home and says something like, I had a bad day, the mall Santa got killed. And the mom's like, I don't find that funny at all. It's like, what? Yeah. She didn't find that funny. She's very clearly upset.
Yeah, that line fucked me up. There's a lot of little bits. I wish I could remember all of it, but I forgot to take notes.
But it's like somebody else was like writing one dialogue and somebody doing the other. Like
we'll meet in the
a
middle.
lot of it didn't sync up.
It's fine. We'll meet in the middle. Just keep on writing your dialogue. I'll write mine.
Or trying to overact. These movies also typically have one person. That would be the mom in this one. That's just doing a little too much. Like not matching the level of everyone else.
Yeah. And
because everybody's pretty subdued. We talked about Grizzly Adams having like a low, but everybody's pretty low like energy.
Yeah. Like
maybe the grandfather had a bit going on.
Well, the grandfather found out that his daughter killed the cat. The mom never finds out that the daughter killed the cat until way later. Does she even? I can't remember.
I don't think so.
Then what's the point?
But that's a real weird. So like, what happens is the elf digs up the cat and like throws it at the window or something, and that's when they're first like, oh my god, there's a troll, there's a goblin, or not the first, but like, that like the grandfather goes, oh, and that's when he's like, oh, elves, the elves are real, and you know, this is proof of that. And she's like, it's not proof of anything, because I killed the cat.
That's right. That's
like,
fucking wild. And a raccoon probably grabbed it. That's what she says.
Right, and a raccoon probably grabbed him, but it's like...
That's a lot for a raccoon to grab.
What the fuck are you doing? Like, again, she has her reasons to be...
Oh, she has reasons per the logic of the movie. Because we, like the rest of the shitty plot points, like the Nazis try to kill the Santa, but most of it's just kind of like incidental until we get closer to the end. But eventually we find out that Kirsten is her own aunt, because the dad, and it wasn't anything violent, he says, he just drugged her.
Yes, so, oh god, I really just did not even want to talk about this. But we have to, yeah. So, the daughter and the mother are arguing, and she's like, you know, you've always hated me, you hate everybody, like, I wish you died instead of Dad. She's like, well, guess what? Your dad's not dead.
But behind it, if you're listening to the track, it does a classic trope. As she says that, it goes dun dun dun, like literally.
I didn't catch that. That's funny. I mean, again, this whole thing is not funny.
No, it was just so out of place. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah, because this is like the big twist that it's so unnecessary. It adds nothing to the story. But yeah, just so we package it up and make sure we're all on the same page. Yes, so the grandfather assaulted his daughter so that he can make the perfect Aryan baby to mate with an elf. Assaulted her while she was, I think he said she was intoxicated and passed out. So it's all good. So
it wasn't mean. But pretty much right after that scene, the mom starts like getting ready for a bath in a very stupid way, and she's deranged in that she's putting lipstick on way too much, and then she puts it on the mirror. Don't know why that's in there. Then she suspiciously puts a radio real close to the bathtub, and this is back in the day when they didn't have D batteries regularly for these things, so you plug that shit right in. Also, they're expensive. She's crazy, but not that crazy. And the implication now is like, because she was assaulted, she's now crazy, which is a crazy misogynistic way to look at
the why she was a... I mean, I guess I feel like this is giving the movie too much credit.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think that it's like two separate things. I think that she's crazy and this thing happened to her. We could put it together as human beings and say, oh, that's why she's...
Well, I think it's less implicit, or rather less explicit and more implicit. I think that they're like, well, of course she's crazy. She was sexually assaulted. Like, I don't think that they're trying to make a filmmaking point, but I think it's kind of in the back of their minds that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it's. I don't think it has to be on purpose to have a through line. Because like you wouldn't do that if you were actively thinking about it and trying to think about somebody's perspective on it who's been through stuff.
They weren't actively thinking about.
They weren't actively thinking about anything, but it's in there because they're inherently misogynistic based on everything. This whole movie is insane. It's all about impregnating an Aryan woman.
Yeah, there's just so many things that didn't need to be. Like, I'm not saying that there somewhere in here is a good movie. There's not. Mm-mm. You're talking about a movie where an elf. One, did it need to be a Christmas elf? It doesn't look anything like it, to me. It looks more like, I don't know, like a mythical elf, like a goblin. Like,
yeah, it looks like a goblin.
Right, but I think I've seen in like different things like elves be more monstrous. Like it didn't need to be. In fact, it would have made more sense if it was like, I don't know, a Legolas style elf. Like.
Yeah. If it was
the Christmas stuff, it just didn't need to be connected to Christmas at all. The Nazis, it's like, was the Nazi part of it even necessary? Because all you did was have a bunch of like, it was like 3 movies like smashed into each other, and yeah, that big reveal that, oh, your grandfather is actually your father. It just added nothing and just made the movie to me unwatchable.
Yeah.
Up until that point, I was like, okay, it's a bad movie. There's some funny parts. We're gonna talk about this. That's funny. We're gonna talk about that. That's funny. And then that, I was like, oh my god, what did I do?
Yeah. This movie is about a specific thing.
Yeah, it's just so like, the mom dying in the bathtub scene.
Because she didn't kill herself. I was implying that that's what they were going for.
Oh, right, yes, because the elf pushes the radio into the water and electrocutes her. Mm-hmm. Which is like, I felt like they're like, because this whole movie is like sex, but with no nudity in it. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, okay, well that's refreshing. I mean, not refreshing, but like, I don't know. It's, you expect it and it didn't come, and so I was like, okay, cool. At least that. And then I feel like they got to the end. They're like, oh shit, we don't have any nudity in this film.
Oh damn.
Let's just have her flail about naked in the bathtub so we can get that in.
Well, it was like, if they were making this intentionally, it was very much like she was going to kill herself in that. Like the way that they were doing it, and it would have made more dramatic sense. It wouldn't be good for the movie much, but it'd be better than what happened. Not because I think they should have killed her off, but if they were going to kill her off, she should have killed herself off after revealing the truth.
Right, because, and again, that's why I kind of like have a hard time believing that they connected like her actions to like what had happened to her. I do think that they were just 2 separate elements. Because that would have made sense. They didn't give her anything.
No.
Like there was nothing. Like I said, there's nobody to like really root for outside of Grizzly Adams in this film. And even knowing that information, like you did what is it like? You did the opposite of Save the Cat in story writing. They literally had her kill a cat. So it's like, I don't know, how am I? How are you supposed to feel anything about? And she just didn't have much to do in the film even. Did she even need to exist?
No.
Yeah. That's the other thing. So many of the characters in the movie just didn't need to exist. Yeah. The boys Nazis, coming to the mall.
They don't need. The grandfather could have fulfilled the role of the librarian guy or the professor guy. Like, all the other girls who died didn't need to be there. The boys didn't need to be there. They could have saved a lot of money and made this movie way better. Not good, but way better.
I guess pitching anything for this would be like, you didn't really need the Nazi thing. Keep it to the mythical part of keep it Christmas. I don't even care about that anymore. Yeah. But like, okay, you got this Christmas elf, you brought it to life. it's just looking to mate with her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, none of the Nazi stuff paid off. The guys are like they're just like older dudes and they
Mm-hmm.
got killed off real easily.
Oh, but one guy kept on, like, the guy who shot Grizzly Adams. Like, he shot him after he already died, and he came back alive just to kill him, and that was pretty funny. Uh, that was probably the funniest part of the movie for me. It's like, oh, I'm going back to dead.
Yeah.
Um, let's talk about the monster itself before we go forward,
Yeah.
because I feel like they only paid for the head and the arms and the legs. So, like, they have, but not a complete piece.
Never shown at once.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never see the full elf.
Yeah, like, are they renting each piece?
Yeah, so what it looked like to me is they probably had like legs on a stick and like we're moving it back
Mm-hmm.
because it was like very quick shots of the
Yeah.
feet to go okay it's moving and um then you only saw the head and hands
Mm-hmm.
of it and it was a puppet, like this wasn't somebody in a mask or anything.
I
Like
just thought it was a mask that they converted into a puppet.
that could be true too,
Yeah.
but it definitely wasn't somebody in it.
No, no,
Like
no.
in no way did I ever think like, oh, this is a person.
Yeah, somebody, at most, somebody was holding it, like, or rather, not at most, but the most, more than likely, someone was just holding this terrible mask in their hands.
Yeah, so it was a mask that was like I like the mask theory
Mm-hmm.
because the hands were definitely like independent.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it was just like a person in a mask and they just had like little hands, but
Yeah.
because the head looked, and that's why I was so confused at the size of the thing because the head looked like a regular size person's
Yeah.
head.
The hands looked huge until you saw a different shot of them.
Right. Yeah.
Like, when they're reaching, they're like my hands. They're just
Yeah,
huge.
it was the worst. It was so dumb looking.
Yeah.
And they barely showed it because they knew it looked bad.
Yeah.
Probably couldn't get the right angles when they were filming. Almost made it pointless, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They could have even gone, okay, forget the elf and like the Nazis just wanted to breed the perfect Aryan like
Mm-hmm.
you could have made this so much simpler.
Oh yeah, it's very convoluted and stupid. At one point, so Grizzly Adams gets shot and he's laying on the ground. They are supposed to grab the crystal from the table, but they leave the crystal because they were worried about
Yeah, there's
something.
a crystal out of
And the crystal's important, but it's not important for me to tell you. It's just important for dumb reasons.
yeah.
So
It's like a crystal knife.
yeah,
Yeah.
they left the crystal there, and then then Kirsten sees the Nazi and the elf at the same time, and she fucking trips. And that's it. She doesn't fight anymore. She's just like, go get the crystal. I'm gonna sit here.
Yeah, oh, that was funny. So the Nazi is like grabbing again. It's like, are the Nazi and the elf working together or not?
Mm-hmm.
Do they want the same thing or not? Because out of nowhere, the elf has a gun.
Yeah. Like, where'd he get that?
First, it's a killer elf that's been killing people throughout the movie, and then the last guy it kills is gonna just shoot him. So yeah, he just like caps the Nazi, and then like as the little brother is running to get this amulet, the elf just like fills her up for like what had to have been like half an hour at least.
And she's just sitting there. And I'm not saying that having a freezing response isn't real. It was just like she was running up until the point that she slightly touched her ankle.
Yeah.
You gotta get up. You gotta get up and run.
Well, that's a very like horror film.
Oh
thing.
yeah.
Like, oh,
But
damsel fell.
It was almost like Scary Movie bad, though. It was like,
Yeah, like
this is almost a
intentionally, long and funny. Yeah.
But what's fucking weird about this? Because I don't know if you paid attention to the credits.
Immediately shut this off.
Oh, because I got shit to tell you, Julian, about that. So he feels her up. In the film, does not fuck her.
Oh, I know what you're bringing up.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I did stick around a bit, yeah.
Yeah. I waited for that whole sequence. I was hoping there'd be more.
Yeah, I did skip ahead. No, I remember.
Yeah. But at no point did they show anything happening.
Right.
They kind of close up. We don't know what happens to Grizzly Adams. We don't know what happens to anybody who was shot. We don't know what happens to the girl or the boy. We don't know because they just cut. And then we see, as the credits roll, an embryo.
Yeah. It's like a little fetus.
Yeah. It's fucking weird. Like, why did you do this to me?
Yeah, and the quality... There's some stuff in here that I'm like, it's hard to tell if it's how bad they did it or if it's just the quality of the footage we were watching. Because it was like clearly like a VHS. Like, it's the only way to freaking watch it. But, I mean, we bought the movie for $200. The VHS was poor quality.
It's not a lossless medium.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm like, oh, is that a fetus? Like, oh, what are we saying with this?
It's insane.
I know there's not a follow-up. So.
No. But if you look at this poster, and Dan Haggerty is Grizzly Adams, so they're not working for Santa anymore. There was nothing in the film about that.
Yeah.
Like...
They had no Christmas connection.
No, they're just elves that were evil.
Yeah.
And the only connection to Christmas was the time of year, Grizzly Adams looking like Santa Claus, and them making an anti-Christmas ceremony.
Yeah.
That's it. And they're in a department store. But, like, this movie had no focus. I wonder what the original script looks like. That's, with these movies, I'm always like, this had to have been way different.
And I just know, like, at the time, like, this is when a lot of, like, bad movies were just coming up. VHS was actually, like, driving a lot of this. So, like, everybody was making movies then. But, like, all the bad movies we've seen, we can name... I mean, we brought up Troll 2. We talked about Chopping Mall with this. Obviously a mall. Like, there's something I understand to it. The plot might be batshit crazy, but, like, I get it. Like, I see the line, you know? Like, this just had nothing.
No.
Like, this is up there for me as far as, like, when people ask me what's the worst film I've ever seen.
It's not up there yet for me. Not up there yet. But I hear you. I feel that, but no, not for me. I think that...
I'm thinking of Zombie Nation, this...
Oh, really? Ooh. Zombie Nation feels like it's a whole half hour longer than this, and it's shorter than this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me it's the... Well, I guess that also has problematic stuff in it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of it.
Yeah.
Very similar problematic stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I've come around. You've convinced me. This isn't quite as bad, but it's damn close. And it looks like maybe 3 friends were, like, pitching scripts, and they're like, oh my god, do these movies fit together? And then they just went and made the movie.
I know Dan Haggerty from Grizzly Adams.
Wait, you can get Dan Haggerty?
Yeah. He's not doing anything. And he talks real soft.
That's all I'm alright with never talking about this again. Do I recommend the movie? No, I don't. Don't watch this. It's hard to watch anyway, but don't do it. Don't look it out. I'm sorry that I've given you any idea to go out and seek it out. Because I hope that's not the case.
I'll go ahead and say what I usually say, is that if you like terrible shit, this is the terrible shit that is pretty bad that you might enjoy. If you love these late 80s, early 90s movies, this is more of the same, just concentrated. Imagine all of the badness, all the worst things about all of those movies put into one movie, and that's the whole movie.
Yeah.
With a light bit of the plots from the other movies, but really, I don't know.
There's better bad movies to watch to spend your time with.
If you've seen every bad movie and you're looking for a bad movie to watch this. And if you've watched this, go watch Zombie Nation. It's the worst thing on earth.
Well, yeah. that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time.